Not too sure what speaker to fit in your sound loco? Here's a review of 3 of them. There's the standard ESU, the iPhone speaker, or the Earthmover 2. Let's go. Hi, I'm Charlie and welcome to Chadwick Model Railway. A couple of weeks ago I mentioned in a video that I was going to look into various speakers that run with sound locomotives, and today's the day that I'm going to tackle that. And what I've got here is my little Class 37. When I buy a locomotive, what I do is I obviously unbox it, I check it works okay, and then I run it in on a DC test track at the Model Railway Club, sort of medium speed, 30 minutes in each direction to make sure it works okay. Give it a before I start taking it apart to make sure it all works good and doesn't have to go back to Bachmann. Kind of makes sense. So then what I do is I need to DCC chip it. So what I need to do for that is obviously to remove the body shell, and on this one there are 2, 4, 6 screws to take it out. Then I remove the chip that comes with it, the blanking plate, the DCC little blanking plate, and then replace it obviously with your decoder of choice. And today what I'm going to do is replace it with an ESU sound chip, and the sound file is from Lego Soundman Biffo. I think that's the right way around. And I'll fit that, but also I've got 2 other speakers that go that I'm going to trial. One is this double iPhone speaker, which I bought recently on eBay, and I shall leave a link to this guy's website. And also the Earthmover 2 speaker, the EM2, which I'm not going to fit into this locomotive, and I'm just going to do a little trial with a cover off, because I don't really want to take apart the underside where the tanks go and cut this locomotive to bits. It's not what I want to do. I've also mentioned in the past that I have a little binder, and in this binder go all my instructions, and I also include in here the relevant documentation to which chip I've installed in the loco, so I can go back to there, and again with any CV changes, so I know what's going on with my locos at any one time. It's the sort of thing you really need to do and keep up to date. I have a couple of high mechs, and in the past, to show I don't learn from my mistakes, I've broken the horns off one end of them. And that's because when I was taking the body shell off, I turned it over on the table, took out the screws, and then I did exactly the same again to the second high mech and noticed that the horns were broken on this one as well. So I invested in one of these little foam cradles, and all I do is take that off and pop it onto here, take the body shell off, and then I'll show you how the sound chips go on and that kind of thing. What I'm going to do in post-production with this, I'm actually going to run the sequence of each chip one after the other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to film the whole thing with one speaker, then the next speaker, and then the next speaker, but in post I'll cut them so that you see the horns with the horns blowing with one speaker, then the other, and then the other, and you'll be able to tell which speaker it is because I'll leave the body shell off and you can see it on the top, and that way you can get a direct comparison from one speaker to the next without having to fast forward through the video, and hopefully that will kind of make sense. At the end of the day, I kind of believe already that the iPhone double speaker will be the speaker of choice, because this one will fit straight into here, whereas, as I mentioned, the Earthmover 2 won't. I have to dig it apart, and also the speaker that comes from ESU doesn't fit in this locomotive either. It's too deep. That particular speaker would sound better if I sealed the edges, but because I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to seal it. So I'll soon crack on, and what I'll do is I'll use this lapel mic and I'll pop it on the side here to give you an appreciation of the sounds, and hopefully the sounds will come out reasonably well. Slight change of plan. I am going to seal that speaker, and what I'm going to use is something called black tack, and I think that way we can get a better appreciation of the usefulness of the speaker. To leave it unsealed wouldn't quite be fair, so I am going to seal it and we'll crack on. So using this little cradle, just fit it in there like that, get a decent screwdriver and whip out those screws. The body shell should then just kind of lift straight out, ideal. Pop the shell out of the way and obviously tip it over, and then the screws will fall out. So with the body shell off, you can now see the original DC chip that comes fitted from the factory, and what I tend to do then is using a little wooden coffee stirrer rather than anything metal, is just prise that chip away, and then obviously I'll pop that in the bag with the rest of the class 37 bits, such as the snow plows and everything else. Right, so now we need to fit the sound chip. Now 21 pin decoders, I'm sure you're aware, have one blank, and the best thing to do with this is to kind of look up into the light and you can see which one it is, and the one with the pin missing is my top right, which is the same as the loco. So I just pop this into position. I'll take the sticker off actually that that Lego Soundman Biffo puts on his chips, obviously to tell them apart. Okay, so I pop that into place. I'm pushing it down. I just want to have a quick check that we are aligned. Is that? And yes, we are. So just push the sound chip into place and we are good to go. So I'll pop the speaker into the well that's too small to take it, if that makes any sense, and pop the loco onto the tracks. Okay, now I'm just using my standard Bachmann Dynamis system here. So if I turn that on and turn that on and turn track power on, and I'm not too sure if you can see this, there's a small red light on the end that shows me I've got track power. So it should be on loco 3, so loco 3 select, and then if I push it forward it moves, and in the other direction turn the speed up, reverse it, and all seems well. If I just bring it to a halt, turn the lights on. Oops, no, the lights can't come on because they're in the body shell, aren't they? Right, sound. Okay, now I'll go through those procedures I mentioned before so you can compare each locomotive. Start up. And now the iPhone speaker. The two horns. So now I'll just play those three sequences one after the other. Start up. The two horns. And now the iPhone speaker. Well, here we are with the EM2, the Earthmover 2, and because of the vibration that's coming off this speaker, I can't rest it on the loco because it vibrates off. But here we go for startup. So what do we think? Conclusions. I think the ESU speaker, the one that's supplied with the sound chip, is better than I thought. And having sort of glued around the speaker with black tack to make sure it stays sealed, the improvement was, was quite substantial really. And it's a good speaker if, of course, you can fit it in. The iPhone speakers, which are two of them, and I'm not too sure if they're in parallel or series or whatever, and as I said, there'll be a link at the end of the video in the See More tab of where I acquired those from. I was very impressed with those, I must confess, and for starters, they fit in the Class 37. The EM2, now that's some kind of beast, and the bass that comes out of it is incredible, and I had to hold it, otherwise the vibration, it just kind of fell off the loco. But there's also the problem with, well, if it vibrates, how do you hold it into the loco? Do you need to put it in some kind of rubber housing or whatever, to stop that vibration? And the other thing is, listening to the horns, you lose a lot of the treble, the upper frequencies of the sound on that speaker. I don't think you really get the upper sounds properly. It tends to concentrate on the bass. But then that's a matter of choice, really. And hopefully, with this little lapel mic, it comes out okay, so you can kind of make your own decisions. But there we are. Of course, now if you decide to buy one of these or whatever, and you've got to fit it to your loco, of course you're down to the dilemma of how you connect your new speaker to that sound chip. And of course you can either cut the cables or you can solder. Now what I've done is I've cut the cables from the ESU speaker halfway along their length, so I could then just put the cables together and for this test. And I normally do solder my cables onto the chip, but the cables on the iPhone speaker, they are thicker. So what I'm going to do is I won't do that. I'll just solder the two ends together of the cables and then put a bit of tape around those and then put them back into the body shell. The body shell itself on the Class 37, if you look on the inside, there's a fan assembly held in by two small screws, and I think really you need to remove that fan assembly, which will then allow obviously more of the sound to get out. That's what I'll do next and get back to you at the end. So that's the soldering complete, and I removed the roof fan from inside of the body shell and secured the chip to the top of the loco with a little bit of tape, and I also obviously soldered the cables together and then insulated those from each other and popped them in the side. So I just need to put the body shell on and all should be well. Little bit of a schoolboy error there. You could see the yellow tape through the roof fan, so I've replaced it with black. I removed the fan from the fan assembly and simply glued it to the inside of the exhaust vent, and it kind of looks much better now. The Class 37 works absolutely fine. The head and tail lights and the cab lights all work and the sound's working perfectly, so I'm very pleased with that project. I've also done a similar project in the past on a Hornby 08 shunter, and I fitted two sugar cube speakers to that one to improve the sound, and I also changed the sound over to another Lego Man sound Biffo, whatever, and that's a great improvement. And I also installed a Stay Alive, which is quite an unusual thing to do, but it allows it to get over all sorts of points and sort of dirty track issues without the sound restarting. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and as usual, please don't forget to subscribe, and there should be a video here and another video here for you to watch, just in case you've got the time on your hands. Anyway, until the next time, thanks a lot and take care, and bye bye.